we got ourselves another clip channel for Gigguk. Gigguk gives his honest thoughts on 2B Hero X. Let's see what he thinks about it.
I'm on episode 3 of 2B Hero X, not feeling it, bro. Oh man, are you serious? I have just finished episode 4. I am...
Episode 3 and not feeling it is... Yeah, I could see why. That's the Standman episode, right? Like, if the first 2 episodes wasn't enough for you to keep it going, like episode 3 being its own like standalone episodes, even though Nice is involved with Standman stuff, I could see why some people would not fuck with it. But again, if you've already seen the first 2 episodes, this shouldn't discourage you.
Hella feeling 2B Hero X. It's still my favorite anime to be airing this season. I think episode 3 was probably the weakest episode, but...
Doesn't mean it's bad though, right? Relative to the first 2 episodes, it's probably people's least favorite, but that's to be expected. Doesn't mean it's bad.
Episode 4 was great. The story is just meh. I think the story... I think the characters are good enough.
How is the story meh? I think the story is so compelling. You are in this society where people's, reflection of how popular you are and their desires for you becomes that power. But it's not just an Unga Bunga superhero show. You get to see that the fans and the powers that you've been bestowed upon is actually shackles and you are a slave of it. There's such deep level of storytelling that 2B Hero X is executing, while at the same time humoring us with such silly comedy. I mean, even the Standman episode, right? That's just the pinnacle of storytelling where you take such a silly concept of a man who literally stands and can't even sit down to take a shit. But there's so much symbolism involved in what he represents, the statue that he is, the girl that he saved, and how the girl actually wanted him to be different. It's not him wanting to be different. She always knew what kind of man he was, a man who would bend the knee, a gentle giant, but the fans had a false image of it. Stuff like this, I think, is so profound and so deep. I don't understand how you could possibly think that this is a shallow story.
Enough. I thought episode 4 was great. I'm very, very interested. The thing that has drawn me to the 2B Hero X worlds the most is the power system, which they haven't really explained too much, but this idea of the amount of follow, like it's something that they haven't explicitly explained through exposition, I think, but just seeing...
And that's why it's so good. Show, don't tell. You don't need to be spoon-fed everything. I love shows that are able to give us mysteries and introduce us on brief concepts that can obviously be a lot more deep and complex, but not explicitly tell us to keep us guessing.
Seeing people gain powers through the amount of followers they have, or just how much belief or followers or hype behind a person, I was like, oh, okay, this is, as someone who is in the social media world, this is an interesting take on the superhero genre. Do you think the end of episode 1 was a weird fake out?
And I guess the time of the clip here is before episode 4 aired. A weird fake out, huh? Oh, they don't know, bro. They got no clue.
We can talk about episode 1. We can talk about episode 4. I'm not sure. It
was after episode 4? I guess they just don't know about it, the person commenting.
Not sure what it is just yet. I'm still letting it cooked. Getting cancelled equals losing power.
True. Getting canceled is losing power. You get wrapped up in some sort of drama. You got to do like a YouTuber apology. It's not good enough. People call you a fraud. But then the interesting thing is like there's also like the villain system, right? Where rather than like the trust value, you have like this negative energy. They haven't really told us more. Like that is more confusing than the trust value. The trust value I think is pretty obvious at this point, right? The more the fans glaze you, the more like basically there is the volume of how much support you have from how many fans, but there's also the what kind of hero you are. So Nice is supposed to be Mr. Perfect, and because the fans think that he's supposed to be perfect, he's got a perfect proportional face, right? Hair, skin, flawless. Even the personality, borderline getting OCD because of how perfect he needs to be, right? That is more clear cut. The villain system, though, it's a bit ambiguous because it's not like the more that you're hated on, the more powerful you become. It's more of there's this other organization known as the Spotlight Org, right? That turned that rank 249 hero in the first episode, the interviewer, into God Eye, right? So would love to see more of that.
Yeah, I know exactly, right? Once you get cancelled, you literally lose your powers. It's probably the most toxic power system of all, and yeah, I'm kind of digging it.
Most toxic power system, I think, is so valid because, like, again, the trust value, it's literally shackled. You are a slave to what your fan thinks of you as. The episode Stand Man was literally that and more. The man was forced to just keep standing, bro. Like physically, yeah, that's just demanding, but also on like a psychological level, right? Imagine having to play up a character that your brand image, like your brand image was carefully curated by the company that represents you, the Shreeman Group, right? There's a big like corporatization into an aspect of that capitalism into the story, and how every hero persona, maybe even fake, even Moon, her whole vlogging stuff, she was an industry plant, right? So I think stuff like that is so compelling. It's very realistic. It's a unique take on how the fan support is actually, you know, a bad thing. It could be. And the storytelling, the pacing, the humor, everything about it is so good. And here's the interesting part. I wonder how the story will evolve, because obviously there's 10 separate heroes, right? There's 10 separate heroes, and every 2 to 3 episodes from now on, there's like an infographic that shows you the partitions of the season. They're going to cover an arc for each hero, and we're going to basically be in the past now. Linling's, you know, nice hero arc is over, but I hear that everything happening now is going to be in the past. And maybe a lot of people cared about this show because of Linling and the story of Nice, right? But now we're going to get new characters. Will people still care about To Be Hero X despite the fact that the protagonist per se, the main driver of the episodes, has fundamentally changed? We'll find out, right? We'll definitely be checking out the newest episodes soon and see what the vibes are like. But I think that it's going to be perfectly fun. I think that even if, in fact, rather than being a doomer about it, why don't we think the exact opposite spectrum, right? What if people enjoy new characters even more, right? What if other characters are even more appealing than Nice and it has an exactly positive effect? So I don't know. Anyways, that's it from me. Please check out WavyClips. So this is not Sleepy Clips. This is WavyClips. It is mid. It says Falcon Mystic. And I'm not surprised, because why? Battle Shonen profile picture. I don't expect, you know, the average monkey that just watches One Piece and probably doesn't even understand the core themes about it hating on shows like To Be Hero X. Yeah, that sounds about right. And surely better. Bro, really? Can't you just enjoy them simultaneously? Must you have to compare them? They both are good at their own respective. And you know what? Urek Mazino here with Luffy's profile picture is absolutely right. It gets so toxic when people are always trying to compare and say like, oh, actually this is better. Why can't we say both are great? You could have said, hey, To Be Heroes is amazing, but you know what else is really amazing too? And Shirley. It's because negative engagement gets a lot of people engaging, right? Anytime people start talking shit, it gets people mad and you want to fucking talk about it. Pranzer Fruit says, unfortunately, some people building expectations and standards on what show to watch rather than just picking a show that clicks their interest, which I find very fucking stupid and toxic. I do agree that building expectations and standards on shows to people who haven't even seen it can have a negative effect, because again, the bar gets raised so high and you think that it's going to be that good, but it turns out, I'm not actually fucking with it. Then your overall image of the show is going to be negative, even though it's probably a good show, because again, the expectation was way too high. Really makes you think how they become this delusional. Same reason why people shit on Solo Leveling, JJK, and Demon Slayer. Being popular is bad. No, it's not being popular is bad. It's just numbers games, right? The bigger something is, inevitably, you're going to have more and more people hating on it. And it's so simple, right? I always do this shit. What is 1% of 100? 1, right? What is 1% of 1,000, though? 10, right? Now you have 10 people hating. What is, you know, and you see how this keeps going? Let's scale up this 1% to 100,000 people, right? Suddenly you have 1,000 people who hate on it. See how something as insignificant as 1% can scale up more and more as something gets bigger and bigger? And most often, this figure, this 1%, the vocal minority, the bigger a fandom is, the more vocal, the more they're gonna be of it, right? Just think about 1,000 people in a room. You might not think it's a lot compared to the, you know, the 99,900 whatever people that it's still enjoying it, but you can see how anything that's popular will always like be hated on, because It's just a numbers game. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Please check out WavyClips for more Gigguk related content. Here's a link to their channel. Go give them a like if you did, and check their other content, and I'll see you next time.